Truckers, Part 19, Chapter 8, from the Book of Gnome, 3rd floor, verses 1 to 9. 1. And the leaders of the gnomes were assembled, and the abbot Gerda said unto them, Hearken to the words of the outsider. 2. And some said, But he is an outsider, wherefore then shall we hearken to him? 3. The abbot Gerda said, Because the old abbot wished it so, yea, and because I wish it so also. 4. Whereupon they grumbled, but were silent. 5. The outsider said, Concerning the rumours of demolition, I have a plan. 6. Let us not go like woodlice fleeing from an overturned log, but like brave, free people at a time of our choosing. 7. And they interrupted him, saying, What's woodlice? Whereupon the outsider said, All right, rats. 8. Let us take with us the things that we need to begin our life anew outside, not in some other store, but under the sky. Let us take all gnomes, the aged and the young, and all the food and materials and information that we need. 9. And they said, All? And he said, All. And they said unto him, We cannot do this thing. Yes, we can, said Masculine, if we steal a lorry. There was dead silence. The Count de Ironmongery raised an eyebrow. The big smelly things with wheels at each corner, he said. Yes, said Masculine. All eyes were on him. He felt himself beginning to blush. The gnome's a fool, snapped the Duke de Haberdashery, even if the store was in danger, and I see no reason I say, to believe it. The idea is quite preposterous. You see, said Masculine, beginning to blush, there's plenty of room. We can take everyone. We can steal books that tell us how to do things. The mouth moves, the tongue waggles, but no sense comes out, said the Duke. There was nervous laughter from some of the gnomes around him. Out of the corner of his eye, Masculine saw Angelo standing by his father, his face shining. No offence to the late abbot, said one of the lesser lords hesitantly, but I've heard there are other stores out there. I mean to say, we must have lived somewhere before the store. He swallowed. What I'm getting at, if the store was built in 1905, where did we live in 1904? No offence meant. I'm not talking about going to another store, said Masculine. I'm talking about living free. And I'm listening to no more of this nonsense. The old abbot was a sound man, but he must have gone a little funny in the head at the finish, snapped the Duke. He turned and stormed out noisily. Most of the other lords followed him. Some of them quite reluctantly, Masculine noticed. In fact, a few hung around at the back, so that if asked, they could say that they were just about to leave. Those left were the Count, a small fat woman who Gerda had identified as the Baroness Delicatessen, and a handful of lesser lords from the sub-departments. The Count looked round theatrically. Ah, he said, room to breathe. Carry on, young man. Oh, well, that's about it, Masculine admitted. I can't plan anything more until I've found out more things. For example, can you make electric? Not steal it from the store, but make it? The Count stroked his chin. You are asking me to give you departmental secrets, he said. My lord, said Gerda sharply, if we take this desperate step, it is vital that we are open with one another and share our knowledge. That's true, said Masculine. Quite, said Gerda sternly. We must all act for the good of all gnomes. Well said, said Masculine. And that's why the stationery, for their part, will teach all gnomes who request it to read. There was a pause. It was broken by the faint wheezing noise of Gerda trying not to choke. To read, he began. Masculine hesitated. Well, he'd gone this far, might as well get it over with. He saw Grimmer staring at him. Women too, he said. This time it was the Count who looked surprised. The Baroness, on the other hand, was smiling. Gerda was still making little mewling noises. There's all kinds of books on the shelves in the stationery department, Masculine plunged on. Anything we want to do, there's a book that tells us how. But we're going to need lots of people to read them so we can find out what we need. I think our stationery friend would like a drink of water, observed the Count. I think he may be overcome by the new spirit of sharing and cooperation. Young man, said the Baroness, what you say might be true, but do these precious books tell us how one may control one of these lorry things? Masculine nodded. He had been ready for this one. Grimmer came up behind him, dragging a thin book that was nearly as big as she was. Masculine helped her prop it up so they could all see it. See, it's got words on it, he said proudly. I've learned them already. They say, he pointed each one out with his spear as he said them, the Highway Code. Highway Code. It's got pictures inside. When you learn the Highway Code, you can drive. It says so. Highway Code, he added, uncertainly. And I've been working out what some of the words mean, said Grimmer. And she's been reading some of the words, Masculine agreed. He couldn't help noticing that this fact interested the Baroness. And that is all there is to it, said the Count. Said Masculine. He'd been worrying about this himself. He had an obscure feeling that it couldn't be as easy as that. But this was no time to worry about details that could be sorted out later. What was it the abbot had said? The important thing about being a leader was not so much being right or wrong as being certain. Being right helped, of course. Well, I went and looked in the lorry nest, the garage, this morning, he said. You can see inside them if you climb up. There's levers and wheels and things, but I suppose we can find out what they do. He took a deep breath. It can't be very difficult. Otherwise, humans wouldn't be able to do it. The gnomes had to concede this was true. Most intriguing, said the Count. May I ask what it is you require from us now? People, said Masculine. As many as you can spare, especially the ones you can't spare, and they'll need to be fed. The Baroness glanced at the Count. He nodded, so she nodded. I'd just like to ask the young girl, she said, whether she feels all right. With this reading, I mean. I can only do some words, said Grimmer quickly, like left and right and bicycle. And you haven't experienced any feelings of pressure in the head, said the Baroness carefully. Not really, ma'am. That's extremely interesting, said the Baroness, staring fixedly at Gerda. The new abbot was sitting down now. He began. Masculine groaned inwardly. He thought it would be difficult learning to drive, learning how a lorry worked, learning to read, but they were just, tasks. You could see all the difficulties before you started. If you worked at them for long enough, then you were bound to succeed. He'd been right. The difficult thing was going to be all the people.